All right, back at it again. So today I want to talk about fear. Fear of unknown, fear of not knowing, fear of failure, fear of rejection. And this can be applied to any part of your life, whether it be relationships or a job. And I think it's important. I think it's very important because if you fear the unknown, then you're scared before you even have any idea what's going on. So what's the point of being scared or having fear over something you don't even know the outcome over? So what you need to do is reel in those thoughts of the negativity and the outcomes that you may or may not even encounter throughout your your whole cycle or process, whatever you're doing. If you are in a crappy job and you don't want to make that change to a new position, like it's just dragging you down, like every day you wake up and you dread going to work, but there's something else that you want to do, then go do it. Stop being scared because you're scared of unknown. Stop being scared of leaving that toxic relationship that you're in because you don't know what's going to happen on the outside of that. You got to go through it to get to it, right? So if you are caught up in all this just mental knot that your brain has created for you to, your mind has created for you to run through just to get to the other side of it, then the first step is to take a step, isn't it? When you make that decision to not be scared anymore, there are going to be so many doors that open up for you. Let me tell you a story. At 20 years old, I was working in a plant in Western North Carolina where I grew up. I'd been at the plant for a little over a year. I was making really good money at 20 years old. I think I was pulling down $600 or $700 a week. Right? At 20, with no college education and no experience in anything really at all by then, I was making enough money to have my own place and to basically take care of myself. And I kept having this feeling that I needed to do more with my life and get out of the place I was in. And at the time, a lot of my friends were starting to or had been dabbling, and people I knew had been dabbling in drugs and alcohol and all kinds of other stuff. And I knew that that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to work in a plant for the next 20 years of my life, breaking my back for a company that didn't even know my name, right? I mean, realistically, they didn't. I was just another number. This company had plants all over the United States, Brazil, Mexico, like you name it. They probably had a plant in a country, in countries all over the world. I took the first step, joined the Air Force in 2011, and I never looked back. Now, granted, I did make mistakes along the way, obviously, but the best years of my life were served in the military, but it was all because I made a leap without knowing. I'd been out of North Carolina. I think I could count maybe 10 times in my entire life at that point, maybe 10, and that's going to South Carolina and Florida and Ohio. That's pretty much it. That's as far as I'd ever gotten away from home, was Ohio and Key West. But I made that step. I woke up one morning, made the decision that I was going to go and talk to a recruiter, and off I went. Now, during my time in the service, they teach you that change is the only constant. Change is the only thing that is consistent. And for some of you, you have this just die-hard will, for whatever friggin' reason, to hold on to whatever it is that you know. Why? The devil you know is not better than the devil you don't. That's fear. Fear. That is fear taking over your life and keeping you from taking that leap to go and do something different with your life. Whether it be a job, whether it be coming out of the closet. That is something else that a lot of people have issues with. I don't think so much now because it's not as judged. But for me growing up, I had friends that were that batted for the same team that just never wanted to come out of the closet to their parents because they were scared of the judgment. Stop being scared. There's no reason to be scared. There's no reason to be scared until there's a reason to be scared. Does that make sense? Like, for you to automatically write off whatever it is that you are planning on doing, whether it be a new job, a new relationship, new friendships, taking the leap of not drinking anymore or not surrounding yourself with that party crowd anymore. Fear controls everything in our minds. And why? What's the point? There's no reason to walk through this life scared. Time is the only thing that we have. That's the only thing that you're guaranteed is time. And you're not even really guaranteed that. So what's the point of being scared about something that you have no idea about? There's not one. You can't give me an excuse, because there isn't. So stop being scared and wake the frick up. Get up off your knees and fix whatever situation you're in, because there's always a way. There's always a way. And then I'm not saying like pick yourself up by your bootstraps and blah, blah, blah. Everybody is given a different hand of cards. Everybody's dealt a different hand of cards. But you can change those cards. But you got to discard that bullshit card to get to where you need to be, right? To get the hand that you want, you got to get rid of the BS cards. Well, I might get a worse card. That's okay. That's okay. It's still different than what you had, right? So your parameters are going to change. Don't waste your time being scared until there's a reason to be. Fear will absolutely chew you up and spit you out if you let your mind run with it. You know, and I've got friends who are, he's a pilot, right? So he's a Black Hawk pilot. Super cool dude. Shout out to Black Hawk guy for making a change in his life. The man served over 20 years in the Army as a Black Hawk pilot. Got out and became, went to Dubai for some time, worked over there, flying Black Hawk still. Got out from that and was an instructor for years. And woke up one day and decided that he wanted to go be an airline pilot. So what's he doing? A career change. It still is. I mean, it's basic, but it's still a big leap. That's a big change. To take your time and go back and relearn something new in his 40s. I think he's in his 40s. I hope I got that right, Russell. But anyway, so what I'm saying is you can change, but you got to be willing to take that leap. The first step is the first step, right? So the first thing that you can do is take a step in the right direction and stop being scared to take that step. When you understand that it's not always perfect, it's not always beautiful, it's not always like, and I was talking about my story, you know, as far as quitting alcohol and quitting drinking. For me, I woke up, I made that decision that day, and that was it. It was the easiest decision I've ever made, and I know a lot of people, I don't want to say this because I don't want to take credit away, but I'm not like everybody else, right? So for me, when I made that decision to walk away from drinking, it was 110% the easiest decision I've ever made. And I never looked back. I was having dinner with my wife, I want to say it was 2 or 3 days after I'd quit, right? So just fresh out of being done. And we went to Texas Roadhouse. We went and had dinner. And so we're sitting there, and I grabbed the beer menu, like always. This is the first time I've been out since I quit drinking. I grabbed the beer menu, and I'm just looking at it, right? And I don't even know why I picked it up. But she looked at me, and she said, you know, babe, you're doing really good. You've made it 3 days without a beer. Treat yourself. And I sat there, and I paused for a second, and I put the menu down, and I looked at her, and I said, how shitty is it for me to feel like I deserve a reward after only going 3 days without a drop of beer? Nah, man. And at that moment, it was just like a light bulb. It was like, that's it. Never again. I'm good. I don't need it. I don't want it. But I made that decision, right, that got me to the point that I needed to be at for that to be said to me in order for me to finally just be like, how crappy is it? And it's not to her. I'm not saying it's crappy to her. I'm saying it's crappy for me in my own mind for someone to say, you made it 3 days, you're doing good. Have a beer. No, thank you. I'm good. I'll pass. From that point on, it was the easiest the easiest thing I've ever done, because I set that in my mind and I push to it. And I've so far I'm following through. Obviously, every day is another day added on, and today I'm, what is it? This is the 16th or 13th. 7 days. I'm a week away from a year. But anyway, so to get back to what I'm saying, fear. That crappy relationship you're in, the crappy job you're in, the crappy whatever situation it's in that is controlled by fear, get out of it. And it's not easier said than done. It's easier done than it is to be said. All you have to do is take that first step. First step is the first step. And I promise you, your unknowns should not be the dictation of whether or not you do what it is that you need to do. Like I said, whether it be leaving that crappy relationship or walking away from alcohol or fear of judgment. And I'm telling you again, do not pay any mind to what anybody else says to you or what anybody else thinks. It's nobody else's life. This is your friggin' life. Own it. This is the only thing that you own, your life. So get out there and do something with it. Yeah, and I obviously pot kettle black because I'm still working in plants and I'm still doing other stuff, but for me it's a means to an end. I'm gonna get to where I need to be, but I'm not scared to take those steps. I did say in one of my videos that fear was my biggest failure. My biggest fear is failure. But I'm working on that because I understand that everybody fails and it's gonna happen. But at least I'm trying, right? I made the first step in the direction that I needed to. And for the veteran community, when you get out, there's a lot of unknowns. A whole lot of unknowns. And for a lot of people, it is extremely scary being out of that box that you're in while you're in the service. It's so easy and comfortable because you're used to it. But they did teach us that change is constant, right? So get used to that again on the outside. And understand that things don't work quite the same on the outside, but it can still be manipulated. The parameters can still be changed to benefit you, if that makes any sense. So stop letting fear rule your life. Pick yourself up, dust it off and get moving. And keep moving. What happens to the water when it gets stagnant? Dies, right? Everything in it dies. There's nothing but some moss and some other crappy things that latch onto the water and fungus. You don't need that in your life. Keep moving. Get moving and keep moving. I hope this helps somebody. I do have a YouTube channel, so subscribe to it. I'm not really looking to make any money off of this. I just want people to listen. And if they don't get anything out of it, then pass it on, because you never know, somebody else that you know might be going through some hard times and might need to hear what I have to say.